my joints, one of the two. I'm not sure.
And we're back.
And we're back. All right, welcome back. All right.
Good. All right, so we have one more drawing. There's a theme going here. This is 5 apology languages, and I just happened to find it. Did you know that there's different ways people accept apologies? I did not know that. So for some people, you dropped one. What if that is the winner? Oh my gosh. So if I say I'm sorry to Chris, he can accept that and like move on and where I'm not. So he can say sorry, but I need something behind it. I need to see a change or something. So this book really helped us define that. Yeah. So it's helped in our marriage a lot. So again, like the other ones, we wanted to pass on. I read a lot. I don't know if you've gotten that.
I do too, but they're all Star Wars.
And the gas falls
Shocker.
across.
All right. So the winner is 1055123.
Anybody? Timmy.
I don't accept
I'm sorry. All right, and we have one more thing. So our heart, for Chris and I's heart, is for marriage. And a couple years ago, maybe almost 3, our church did something called the Summer of Dates. And it was a date challenge. So in these envelopes are suggestions for dates, and we're going to do with our church the Summer of Dates, and then a hashtag to use to take pictures when you go on the date. So at the end of the day, we'll have these. It's so when Chris and I go on dates, we try and go once a month. Every other month, one of us plans. So like he'll plan, and so we don't get stuck in a rut. So that's what you'll see on here, just different challenges you can do to help. And we wanted to share, the couple that was here last night, Blay and Darlin, they have a salsa studio, a dance studio up on the Pike, and we wanted to tell you about some nights in the fall they have couples dating. We made Tim and Katie go with us. They loved it. You loved it, right? Chris and I have gone a couple times. What I found is that Chris has an amazing rhythm, and I do not. But amazing. But one of the things that we learned was that in salsa dancing, the man has to lead, and that was the that was like the hardest thing for me, to let him lead, which is probably why we didn't do well. But I wanted to share that with you. A couple of the dates are like, plan something that's out of your comfort zone, do something that you know that your date has always wanted to do, things like that. So
it's a great Cold War idea. So it's not like let's go out to a movie, just to be able to give options to make the dating fun and stuff like that.
One night he surprised me. We went country line dancing, and I hated every minute of it, but we did it. So, and it's a date I remember. We had fun. One time he planned the scavenger hunt at the Berlin Mark, so that was fun. Just different things like that. He's way better at it than I am. So I have this pretty lady behind me. This is Des.
Hi.
This is Des' child. She is new to our church, but not new to my heart, and she's just going to share a song she wrote for you guys to share about marriage. And then John will come back up.
I have to do this before I get started. Did anybody see Princess Bride? Marriage. Marriage is what brings us together today. I had that on my heart driving here. I had to say it. It's a word of the Lord from me to you. Today's actually my anniversary. Go us, me and my husband, who's not here. Riding solo. He thinks our marriage is great. So I was like, I'll just come because I guess I have the issues. But we've Sorry, honey. We've been we're celebrating 11 years of marriage today. He's at home with the kids, so I could be here and share with you a song that I wrote that I felt like was appropriate for marriage. The song, in all seriousness, was birthed out of watching my parents' marriage over the years just kind of deteriorate, unfortunately. They're still together. In fact, they're celebrating 40 years of marriage in July, but I'm not sure how they've made it this far. They're not very kind to each other. I'm sure they could use you, John. But pretty much every time I'm with them, I have to watch them tear each other down with their words. And I think there's a lot of power in the tongue, power to heal, power to tear down. It's like a raging fire. But I love everything John is sharing today, especially about just changing the way you view your spouse and changing the way you view yourself. Marriage is a daily commitment. It's not just 2 words at the altar, I do. It's saying I do every day, essentially. So my prayer is that we would encourage our spouses with our words and turn to the Lord as we do it, as we try to encourage them. So I hope you enjoy the song. It's called I Do. I don't know how we got here, 'cause it all happened suddenly. Strangers living in the same home. Oh, baby, why won't you even look at me? Taking offense to every word I say. We got this nightmare on repeat. So I fall to my knees and I pray. 'Cause I do believe. I believe in love, I believe in you. I believe that God made 1 from 2. When we said I do, and I'm not giving up, we're just passing through. 'Cause I meant what I said when I said I do. When I said I do. Let's go back to when we were younger, living wild and running free. 'Cause now we're drowning in our anger. Oh, baby, why won't you stop running from me? I believe in love, I believe in you. I believe that God made 1 from 2. We said I do, and I'm not giving up, we're just passing through. 'Cause I meant what I said when I said I do. When we said I do, 2 words at the altar bound us forever. But it's 2 words that are tearing me down, cutting me deeper. 2 words at the altar bound us forever. So God, would you please hear me now? Bring us together. 'Cause I believe in love, I believe in you. I believe that God made 1 from 2. We said I do, and I'm not giving up, we're just passing through. 'Cause I meant what I said when I said I do. When we said I do, baby, I love you. I really love you. I really love you. do. I do. Thank you.
Man, Des, that was awesome. Check, am I on? Yep. Thank you for that. I don't even know if I want to follow that. Everybody full? Now's when we start getting tired. If we weren't tired before, it's good. And I just, I wanted to relate with you and appreciate you sharing that too. I don't know about anybody else other than me and her, but I didn't have the best examples growing up of functional relationship. I shared last night that my dad was a pastor, was 46 years, and I think the way that we dealt with things in our life was just not to talk about them and be hostile to each other. Not really talk about what's going on and then just be kind of hostile or passive aggressive or whatever else. Sometimes just to move, like we have major catastrophe in our life, and at one point when I was about 12, and the solution to that literally was we moved from Iowa to New Jersey, and we just didn't talk about it, and that was how things were handled in my house. Just the hostility stayed below the surface, and it was really toxic, man. I had no idea that was what was going on in my life and in my household, so I just relate to that a lot. We're going to, actually, Lauren had a question that I did not want to answer until we were here, so I'm going to have her ask her question. Do you want a microphone? Are you loud enough? Okay.
My question was when you were talking about the shame and trauma that can lead to hiding or trying harder, and the anger and pride.
Mm-hmm.
I just was kind of wondering more about that shame piece, if that's a self-inflicted shame you were referencing, or more of as in a couple relationship when our words aren't what they should be, and you shame the spouse. That's
Yeah.
the response. I just was curious about more clarity.
Yes.
On that word shame.
So what I wanted to say is that my words can be shaming, but they cannot trigger something that is not there. So if somebody says something that is shaming, my spouse, for instance, my spouse, because I was loaded with shame. I didn't even realize how loaded with shame I was until I began to do some of this work. But as I've recognized how loaded with shame I am, my spouse, and I used to think like and oftentimes, so by the way, I believe this. Let me back up just a second. Sorry. I could talk about shame all day because it's kind of my thing now that God has been working on in my life. But let me just do this briefly. I believe there are two different types of shame, and I didn't qualify this earlier. When I speak about shame, I am talking about toxic shame that's rooted and connected to identity, who I am. There is something wrong with who I am. Who I am is not enough. What I'm doing because of who I am is not good enough. What I bring to the table is not enough. That is toxic shame that's rooted in identity. I am not talking about I did something shameful and I should be ashamed of that. That is appropriate shame. In fact, what I was explaining to Lauren earlier is that we had the too much power, not enough power. This side over here that's not enough power, when we get really dysfunctional, doesn't have appropriate shame, doesn't understand appropriate shame. We need some appropriate shame. There's a good shame and a bad shame. So most of the time when I'm speaking specifically of the toxic bad shame. So when my wife says something, and I really believe this, I believe that shame is, and I'm going to say this and man, this is one of my favorite statements I feel like I've ever gotten, is that shame is the weapon that the enemy beats us with. You're bad, you're bad, you're bad. And then we take it and beat ourselves with it. I'm bad, I'm bad, I'm bad. And then we beat each other with it. You're bad, you're bad, you're bad. So there's a principle that says when we do violence to ourselves, we'll do violence to others. And I really think that shame, in fact, I'm going to get a stick, and I'm going to make a stick, and I'm just going to write shame on the side of it. And whenever somebody starts shaming themselves in my office, I'm just going to hand them the stick and be like, why don't you just go ahead and use this, because this is what you're doing, right? Just go ahead and beat yourself with it. Shame on me, shame on me, shame on me. And that's right. I mean, that's the specific toxic shame that I'm talking about. If I don't have that in me, it can't be triggered by my spouse. She can say whatever she wants. And when I'm rooted and grounded and my identity is secure in Christ, I don't receive it as shame, even if she's sending it as shame. So in other words, she might still be having something and shaming and saying something shaming. You're bad, you're bad, you're bad. But when my identity is rooted and grounded and I'm beloved by God, I am his child, I'm clean, I'm pure, I'm whole, I am righteous because of what Christ did on the cross. And when I'm like rooted in that identity, I'm not going to receive the you're bad, you're bad, you're bad as you're bad. You see what I'm saying? Where previously, where my thinking was rooted and grounded in shame, everything she said to me was shaming, and it was all, you're shaming me. Now, we just live in a world and a culture that I can't even expect not to send messages through shame. I mean, oftentimes they are. I mean, any of you that work, have bosses. I just have, just about every boss I've ever had has used shame in one way or another to manipulate or to correct or to, Anyway, so it's often manipulative. Did that answer the question better? That makes sense. So I want to deal with my own shame inside of myself, and then. So when that was what I wanted to change. When it is triggered, it's triggering. She might be sending the message through shame, but I have to look at the fact that shame is being triggered in me. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, shame is learned. Yeah, definitely. Shame. And I think shame is, again, the weapon of the enemy. It's used, so wherever it comes, it's the weapon of the enemy. So what's the part that I can control in that? What is the part that I can control in that? This is the shame. This is shame, right? So this is the part I can control, and it's really hard. I'm not saying this is easy. It's hard, but the process that I can control is how I take it in and hold on to it and allow it to now become my belief system. And how do I do that? Well, the easiest way to do that is to stay as super close to Christ, because he's going to be cleaning this out on a regular basis, and to walk with him in that. So does that make sense? Like if I take that shame in and I take that resentment in and I take that process. And I'm not saying any of this is easy. This is hard. Even knowing this and teaching this and talking about this, I still will find myself holding on to resentment, being hurt, and not staying clear and walking clear, which is, man, this is the stuff that leads to broken marriages, broken churches, broken families, broken relationships. This is like holding on to this stuff is the stuff that leads, it causes me to become toxic in my life. And from that place of toxicity to be a toxin to the people around me, right? And I don't want to live toxic. I want to live clean. I want to live clear. I want to live whole and just in that place, okay? Anybody else want to add anything or questions? Did anybody have any questions? That's good. I love questions. I love pushback. If you're like, I don't agree with you, you stink, throw it at me. It's okay. That's good too. I don't mind. I like pushback. So, yeah. I'm going to have you take a minute and pull out your notepad. We're just going to take a couple of minutes, and I want you to write a list. Think back to what drew you to your spouse. What drew you to them? Not physical attributes. These are character strengths. Like, she has a nice butt. That's good. But, we're going to assume that's the case. But, I want you to go deeper than that. Like, these are the personality traits, the character traits that drew you to the person, or that you admire about the person. What do you see as their strengths? So go ahead and take about 5 minutes and do that for me. Try to have at least 5 to 10 things that drew you to the person, or that you see as their character strengths. when put on the spot, a lot of us find this challenging. That's okay. You can work on this. This will be a thing for you to continue to think of. Give it another minute or so, and then we'll move forward. Everybody ready? Okay. Good. So earlier we were talking about the concept of taking appropriate ownership. One of the biggest things that I work on with couples when they come into my office, on top of taking appropriate ownership, is this concept, and that is this: every personality. And I've looked at this from a number of different directions, but this is my favorite way to look at it, okay? Every personality has what I call gold and shadow. The gold represents the strength. The shadow represents the weakness. Okay? But the shadow is just the shadow of the gold. Oh. In other words, every couple that comes in to see me, I often start off by asking them this question: what drew you to the person? And so many times the wife will say something like this: well, he's a really hard worker. He was a really hard worker. And then I'll say, okay, well, what drives you nuts about him? And without fail, she'll say to me, oh, he works too much and has no work-life balance. And I show them that those are literally the same things. Right? Every personality has strengths and weaknesses. But in the beginning of the relationship, all we can see is the gold. We're blinded by the gold. And then after we get married, all we can see is the shadow. Anybody relate to that? Anybody relate to, like, man, their shadow is just glaring. Their weaknesses are just glaring. All I can see is this part. And so many of the times that is the case, where people come in and they're sitting there talking to me, and as we go through this process of looking at what is it that really drives you nuts about the person, or is driving you nuts about them in relationship, is that their focus has shifted to the shadow. And whatever we're looking for is what we're going to see. So if you're looking at the shadow, that's all you're going to see is shadow. If you're looking for gold, and it takes an actual intentionality for me to shift my focus to begin to look for the gold in the other person. But I love this verse, and a lot of you probably know this verse, is Philippians 4:8. Finally, brothers and sisters, whatever is true, whatever is noble, whatever is right, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is admirable, if anything is excellent or praiseworthy, think about such things. What if we made it a goal as couples to be intentional about finding the gold in each other, about looking for the gold? Now let me ask you a question. What makes a shadow bigger or smaller? the direction of the light. Okay. I would even say how close you are to the light, right? So if the light is shining here, big shadow, right? If you're over here, the light's over here. The closer, for instance, the closer you get to the equator, or the closer you are to the sun, the less shadow you have, right? And I believe that is the case too. The closer I get to the sun, the less shadow I have. Are you with me on that? And the less my shadow becomes apparent, and the more my gold becomes apparent. And I think that's such a powerful principle in recognizing this. But whatever I'm looking for, that's what I'm going to see. Now, I have a 7-year-old daughter she's challenging. She is full of life. This kid she's full of life. She can't sit still no matter where she goes. She dances. She's like, we don't go to a charismatic church. She dances in the aisles the whole time. She's an aisle dancer from way back, dude. She's just like, and I love it. I let her go because I don't want to teach her any shame. So I'm like, I let her go, and I love that she dances in the aisles, and I want to like honor that part of her. She also, ever since she was a little kid, she could not take no for an answer. She just does not take no for an answer. She will cry, she'll throw a fit, and it's amazing. Like, this kid she wears this out, if I'm being honest. She just can outlast us. She's like, if she were playing Survivor, she is the survivor, because she will outwit, outlast, outplay each of me and my wife. And I think, like, a lot of times in our life, we feel just like she beats us. She's like, all right, you won, kid. Go ahead. Do what it is you wanted to do. And, and I hate that, because I feel like I lost when she wins. It's like, is this really worth fighting over? And for instance, she goes to bed and she hasn't had a snack. Now, I know this kid isn't hungry. She ate not like all night. She ate all night, but she didn't have the bedtime snack. And because she didn't have the bedtime snack, and she really just wants to procrastinate going to sleep, and that is part of the process that she can hold on to, she will be like, I need a snack. I'm hungry. I'll be like, you're not hungry. You ate all night. And she's like, no, I'm hungry. I'm like, you're not hungry. My tummy hurts. I'm so starving. She's very dramatic. She's like very dramatic. And I think she's, like, you're going to be an actress or something. She's like, I'm starving. And then she will just go like that. She'll keep it going forever, indefinitely. And, man, a lot of times it's so easy to go, man, I do not like this kid. Focus in on the shadow of what she's doing and put her in the jerk box. You're a jerk, and I don't like you. And and reality is, what happens if I do that with a 7-year-old child? Well, now she's 7, but this has been her case her whole life. She's not changed. This is kind. What happens if I decide I don't like who you are inside of me? What happens? I will communicate that to her. This is who you are, and I don't like who you are. That is a shaming message. The Bible talks about the difference between blessings and curses. Do you know what I really believe the difference between a blessing and a curse is this? When a father would pass on a blessing to their child, the adult child, now like Jacob and Esau went and got their dad's blessing, they would come in, the father would tell them, this is who you are. That's a blessing. In other words, the father would look at the best traits of the son or the daughter or whatever, and then he would say to them, this is who you are. That's what I believe it means to bless. I believe as parents, we are responsible for telling our children who they are. And if we don't do that as parents, the world is going to do that for us. The world will tell our children who they are if we don't tell them who they are. And it's our job to find the gold in the child and to tell the child, each of my children has incredible gold. I just like the gold of the other two so much better than I know, it's terrible. I'm sorry. She's good. I like her so much today. But it's so easy to like put her in the jerk box, decide I don't like her, and go like, this is who you are. And it has taken an intention, and this is what we do oftentimes in relationships. And it has taken a lot of intentionality for me to go, this isn't who you are, this is who you are, and I'm going to say that to you. Because this, when I focus in on this, and I tell her this is who she is, I believe that that's what the Bible means when we curse somebody, is to find their weakness and to tell them that's who you are. Now, I could easily, and I've done that to my daughter, and people have done that to me. Through my life, my dad said to me as a child, he would go, and he would do like this backhanded compliment. You're smart, but you're lazy. You're smart, but you're lazy. And I'd be like, I grew up believing I'm lazy. I'm not lazy. Man, you should see me when there's something I want. I'm not lazy, I'm unmotivated. When there's something I want, I go for it, like hard. But I believed I was lazy, and that became a part of my destiny. You've heard the saying maybe before that if you sow to a thought, it becomes a habit or belief. So to a thought, it becomes a belief. So to a belief, it becomes a habit. So to a habit, it becomes a character. So to a character, and it reaps a destiny, right? You've heard that saying before, and I believe it, man. And we are sowing to each other's thoughts, our beliefs, and we're sowing to our children's thoughts and beliefs. What are we sowing into each other? What are we sowing into each other? Oftentimes it's easy to go, well, you're just so irresponsible. You're just so this, or you're so that. And we are cursing each other when we do that. We are telling each other, this is who you are, right? So what I've started to do is this instead. I started to say to myself, and it requires a lot of intentionality, is to go, this is what my daughter's doing that I don't like. And then I work backwards to find the goal. Okay? So once I've worked backwards and I find the gold, I go like this. Honey, you are a challenger who does not take no for an answer. And someday, I believe God is going to use that in some powerful way. That you just don't care. You don't care. Like, you are not afraid of what people think, and to press into that and to keep going. And you are bold in your thing. And you can just. You are amazing in your determination and your ability to stick with something. And someday that's going to be amazing for you. Today is not that day. Today you are taking no for an answer, kid. But I love that about you, because that's who you are. And man, I'm telling you, we live in a world who wants to tell our kids who they are. They will tell them. And it's our job, I believe, as parents, to find the gold in them and then to call that out by telling them that's who they are. I mean, I have this amazing, my daughter, my 15-year-old daughter came home, she comes home, she was, as a kid, this kid was the kid who was the most, she was my first child, and she was the kid who was the most secure. Wherever we would go, she would just, not even a look backwards. Bye, Mom. Bye, Dad. And she's off. And she made friends everywhere. At the park, she'd be like, oh, these are my new friends, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay, that's amazing. I always thought that was amazing about her. Now she comes to me the other day and she says, Dad, I don't have any friends. I can't make friends. I have social anxiety. I'm like, you have social anxiety? What are you talking about? You have social anxiety? No, you feel awkward on the inside. I get it. I feel awkward on the inside. I know what it has to live with feeling weird or awkward or different. That's part of being a teenager, trust me. But you do not have social anxiety. Let me tell you who you are. You were the kid that would go to the playground and you would make friends everywhere you went. That's who you are. You're an amazing kid. You say, Dad, I just don't have anything to say. And I'm like, that is baloney. You have amazing things to say. Why are you believing that? Don't believe it. You have amazing things to say. I always love what you have to say. You have an amazing sense of humor, and she does. She has an amazing, quirky, weird sense of humor that I just love, and I'm like, this is who you are, kid. Don't believe that. That's a lie. And each of them has this amazing gold. These kids they're born with this stuff. But how easy is it for us in relationship to look at the other person's shadow, to focus in on the other person's shadow, and to say to them, this is who you are. This is who you are. What if instead of doing that, we began to do the opposite of that? What if we began to choose or commit ourselves to intentionally finding the gold in the other person and calling that out? And even when they are acting out of their shadow, to say, no, to remind them of who they are. My wife constantly doubts herself. She constantly doubts herself. She's an incredible woman. I am married to an incredible woman. I really wish she could be here for you. I don't know if you'd get to know her. She's kind of introvert, but here she has built a company. She's so sharp, dude. She's just, she blows me away by how sharp she is. And yet she goes to apply for, different things, and she doubts herself, she questions herself, and I'm like, are you kidding me? This is who you are. You are amazing. You look at what you've done. You're amazing. You have done this, and you have done that. And I start reminding her of all the things that she's done and how amazing she is, and she goes, oh man, I am pretty amazing. I'm doing all right. Thank you. And she's amazing. But then when, what happens is, because we're going to start to doubt ourselves. It's so much easier to see the lie. It's so much easier to believe the lie about ourselves and about others. Isn't it? This is hard to do in practice. It's hard to do when the other person is maybe living out of that part a lot. And maybe they're not walking with Christ. Maybe they're not living in a way that's honorable. How do we continue, and why do we continue? Why not just point out their shadow over and over and over and over and over again? It doesn't work. It doesn't work. And I think a lot of times in relationship where we feel the need to point out the shadow. We feel the need to be the person who says, hey, look at what you're doing. Look at that. Because if I don't do it, nobody's going to do it. Everyone else thinks you're great, so I'm going to be the one to tell you the truth about you. Yeah. And so what if instead we just decided to become the people who find the gold and call out the gold in the other in our spouse? Especially when they don't deserve it. Especially when they don't deserve it. To call it out in them. So, here's another principle, and then we're going to do an exercise. Now, I'm not going to keep you guys too long this afternoon. I know you're getting sleepy. So, here, bear with me. In the beginning, in the beginning of every relationship, we all do something that I call practicing the art. Men do something that I call practicing the art of romance. Bear with me, men, because we take a lot of heat and a lot of flack for no longer practicing the art of romance. In the beginning, though, we do something very naturally to get the girl, and that is that we practice the art of romance. And so what do we do that is romantic? More than anything, it's not about the gifts that we give or about anything else. How are we romantic? And this is what we do with it, that we do very naturally, that send the message. We send the message. Compliments, yeah. But even beyond compliments, I think we send the message, you are the most important thing to me. And this is how we do this. We get on the phone and we're like, I will talk to you for hours. That is a lie. I don't want to talk to you for hours afterward. But in the beginning, I can remember, I talked to her on the phone for hours. Like, and we send a message, you are my priority. Right? It's the most important thing. Every woman, so many times when I have couples come in and they sit with me, the woman says to me, the number one complaint that I hear from women, I am not a thought. And what they are saying is I'm not a first thought, I'm not a second thought, I am not his priority. I am not even in his priority list. And that is like the number one thing that I hear from frustration from women. And the reason is they started off with an expectation and a lie that we sold them that they were our priority and that they always would be because they're the most important person in the world to us and nothing else matters other than making them happy and spending time with them. Baloney, man. We do that in the beginning, right? And then we stop doing that afterwards because it's like once we get the girl, we stop doing that. But like, I mean, I remember we went to Liberty with Thomas. I shouldn't even say this. Lauren was an RA. So I remember, right? So I was in my wife's dorm was on the opposite side of the campus from us, and we had a curfew that was at midnight. And my wife, I'd be on the phone with her at 11:55, and she would be like, I really want to give you a kiss. Good night. And I would jump out of my window in dorm 8, run as fast as I could, faster than I've ever run, to the other side of campus. It's far. It's not close. It's far. And to the other side of campus, to her window, to kiss her goodnight, and then run all the way back to try to get in my dorm before they got to my dorm room. And I would do that, and I sent a message like, I'll do anything for you. You are the most important. I will die for you. You're the most important person in the world to me. And it just happened naturally. I didn't even have to try to do it. But man, after we've got the girl, boy, that gets harder and harder to do, doesn't it? Because I get caught up in my own things, and I'm, all right, I get secure in that, so I'm like, I don't, it gets harder and harder to do. How do I practice the art of romance? How do I get back to the place where I make her that priority in my life? Because that is what, by the way, through whatever, words, deeds, actions, that is what got the girl. And it continues. So many times I hear that's what women are looking for. But women, we take a lot of heat for not doing this anymore. But there's something you did in the beginning too. So we're going to talk about that. And I say it this way. Practicing the art of seduction. How does a girl get a guy? If that's how a guy gets a girl, how does a girl get a guy? Anybody? Yeah. What? Rocks his world. Hopefully. How does she rock his world? Yes. Okay. How does she rock his world? So you practice in the art of seduction. It's funny because, yeah, sensuality is definitely a part of it, right? She looks, she cares about how she looks. And, my wife comes up, she takes a lot of heat for this, and she's not here, so I'm going to give her heat anyway. But she, before we got married, it was always like, or even shortly afterwards, it was always like, yeah, maybe some sexier things. Boy, I don't even know where those things went. But, and now it's like she comes home and immediately, I've been in this all day. Like the frumpiest clothes she can find, man. It's like the frumpiest outfit she can possibly imagine. And her dad, who I think just is has a cruel sense of humor, every year his favorite thing to do is to buy my wife the ugliest robe that he can find and give it to her for Christmas. And it covers her neck to ankles, man. It's and it's comfortable and it's warm and she's always cold, so she loves it. She wears it constantly. And it's like, oh my gosh, Dad, that is so not cool, man. I'm gonna, But that's what she rocks, right? So she wants to be comfortable. So there is an element of that. But I think beyond that stuff that often gets talked about is this. There's something that a woman does that gets a man's attention that stops after marriage. And that is this. She laughs at all his jokes. What? Admiration. And she sends the message. So we send the message, you're the most important person to me. She sends the message, you're a good man and I want you. You're a good man and I want you. So you're the most important person to me. You're a good man, and I want you. Okay. You're a good man, and I want you. You're a good man, and I want you. And I almost want to have you guys, like, look at each other and say, like, I mean, do it real quick, you know. You're the most important person to me. You're a good man, and I want you. Go ahead. To the appropriate spouse. Right? And so we used to send this message subconsciously through lots of verbal and nonverbal cues, you know, like lighting up when I came into the room. She just lit up when I came into, oh, my husband is here. Oh, have you, my boyfriend is here. Now she's like, ugh. You know, hopefully not now. But you know, the message turns, right? It turns a little bit after marriage where it's like, you're a good man and I want you, goes to you're a bad man and you do everything wrong, you know? And it's like, you're not a good man and why did I marry you, maybe? I don't know, would be like the other message that we get where it's like, oh, you're such a good man, you're so funny, you're so this, you're so that. Now it's like, oh, you don't do anything right, you know? Where it's pointing out all the things that we're not doing and where we're falling short. You with me? Isn't that the reality in a lot of cases? Hopefully not. Hopefully you youngsters are like still up here. You're good. You're good. He's a good man and you still want him. Oh, hang in there. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Sorry, I told you I don't do good with younger people. Anyway, you're a good man and I want you. You're the most important person in the world. And I think that it is, what if we could get back to kind of sending this message? And now listen, I'm not talking about this false positive, just be positive. That is not what I'm saying. Just be positive. I'm not saying that we don't ever address problematic behavior. Please hear me to understand that I am not saying that we don't ever address problematic behavior. I'm just saying that when we address the behavior, we lead with the gold. We lead with the gold. What if that has to happen. I'm talking about stuff that occurs inside of my mind that then translates out to how I address or deal with situations, okay? Because if I believe that my wife is the most important person to me, then when she has this behavior and I love her and she's my favorite, you know, I want my wife to be my favorite person. And that changed very early in my marriage. She stopped being my favorite person when I stopped being a good man that she wanted. You know, maybe, no, that's blaming her. Anyway, But when like I keep this part that she's the most important person to me, and I want her to be my favorite person. You know, I was sharing earlier, or yesterday, I think last night, when we went for premarital counseling, that we took a quiz, and one of the assessments was whether you're an introvert or an extrovert. And my wife was off the charts introvert, and I was off the charts extrovert on a bell curve. You know, we weren't somewhere on the curve. And he said, man, this is going to be a problem for you. And I believe in saying so, he cursed our marriage because she ended up saying, go, just do whatever you want to do. And I went and did whatever I wanted to do and built relationships, and she just stayed home. And then we just ended up being two separate people. And she wasn't my favorite person that, and that I wanted to spend all my time. I can honestly say today, like, I'm going to go home and I'm going to hang out with my favorite person. I want to go hang out with my wife. She's the only person I want to do things with today. It's weird. That is a weird thing, though, because for me, that's a strange thing, because for a long time, that wasn't the case. But it is something that I can choose. I can choose to make her my favorite person to hang out with. I want to. And I'm telling you, it does help a lot when I'm a good man and she wants me. It does. So I want to practice this art of romance, and I want to practice the art of seduction. So we're going to do an exercise. You guys wrote down these things, 5 to 10 things. This is the gold. Does everybody got 5 or 10 things? You do? You're just fast. That's good. Okay? If you don't have 5 to 10 things that are gold, start with the shadow and work backwards. Because maybe you can only see the shadow right now. And that's okay, because we get to that place in our life where all we can see is the other person's shadow. So what we're going to do is this. I just want you to take a look you're going to look at each other, preferably. And you're going to go back and forth saying this. The gold that I see in you is. Everybody with me? Understand? So you'll say, the gold that I see in you is, and then you'll tell them something about themselves. And then the other person will do it, and vice versa until you're done. Okay? Go ahead and take just a few minutes and do that. Just another minute. We ready? What was that like for you? Say that? Go ahead.
I just noticed that the gold that I found in my wife found in me.
Say more about that.
The things that I like about her, she likes about me.
Hmm.
And the same for the bad. The bad stuff that I don't want to say bad stuff. The shadow that I found in her, she found the same shadow in me. It's almost like we were looking at each other, within ourselves.
Which is true. Because there's another principle called projection that says that I can't see something in someone else that doesn't exist in myself. Yeah, it's good. Thank you. What? Somebody else, tell me what that was like for you. Yeah. Yeah, thank you. Say more about that, would you? What would be an example of? Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, and I often think, I want that balance. I want that balance. The struggle in relationship comes when I think you should be like me. If there were two of me, we wouldn't need to be in relationship, I believe oftentimes God puts us with our opposite because of the fact that we get from them, and when we embrace that process, he uses it to make us whole. And especially a head person with a heart person, I really believe, a body needs a head and a heart, and it can survive with just about all the rest of the stuff gone, but it needs a head and a heart. And it's so easy for the heart person to feel insecure and weak or shame, and it's so easy for the head person to think, I don't need the heart person is, I don't need a heart. And so, so what often happens in relationship is that part feels weak or less than or somehow. And man, those two need each other, don't they? Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. I'm glad you said that. It's only, and I used to resent that in my wife, where she would say to me, well, as I was taking on more and more and going to, she used to have a problem with that, and I felt like that was control. Now when she says to me, all right, well, you can say yes to that, but what are you going to drop? What are you going to say no to? And I've learned to go, oh, yeah, that's true. Thank you. Hearing that as wisdom. It's good. What else? What are you aware of? Anybody? Yeah.
I feel like without these kind of refreshers or focusing on this, goal of your spouse, you do get stuck in that shadow realm where you're basically waiting for those, shadow tendencies or whatever to come up. That's kind of what you focus more of your relationship on, as opposed to, sitting in front of one another and saying, this is what I value.
Yeah. Thank you. What if we did this? What if we made this a part of our routine? What if we made it a habit, made it a thing that we do? You know, where like we do this on date nights. We say, you know, did it every night. What if we did it every night before I go to bed? I've heard, you know, a lot of therapists will suggest this, to say like the last thing at the end of the night, the thing I love about you most is, and then end the night that way. It's powerful. Yeah. Yes. Yep. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah, I don't know if you saw that, but I wrote S-O-N. Yeah. No, it's great. I love it. I wasn't very clear. I should have been more clear. It's good. I love it. What else? What are you aware? I should have highlighted it, so thank you. What else? What else are you aware of? Anybody? Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and it's so important that they handed those out. I actually bought a book. There's a book you can get on Amazon that I think is pretty cool. That it's a scratch-off date night, where you have to like scratch it off and then do a random date. It's pretty, and there's some of them are pretty interesting. Like make a pie together where one person's hands are like the other. I don't know. We got the book. We haven't tried them yet, but they are interesting, and I'm gonna try it. What else? Who else? Anybody? What are you guys aware of? What are you guys aware of? Nothing? Okay. You guys are good. I love it. Okay. Anybody else? What are you aware of as you do this? It's hard to face my own shadow. Why?
I think I'm a pretty great guy.
D? Yeah.
I was just talking about this last Sunday about how we, in my sermon, we want grace for ourselves, but we're all too eager to give law to the other person. But we always want grace.
Mm-hmm.
But if we're not merciful, then God won't be merciful to us. And if we're not merciful to our spouse, they're probably not going to be merciful back either.
Yeah. Yeah. How important is it that I face my shadow? How important is it that I look at that and go, this is what's coming up in me. This is what's coming out in me. I'm living from this place now. And do that work is just, for me, really important. Okay, so,
Can I also just say, too,
yeah.
you know, I think that we probably tend to focus one way or the other, right? We either focus on gold, right? I'm a pretty gold kind of guy,
Mm-hmm.
or we go too far. The pendulum swings too far the other way.
Yeah.
I'm just all shadow.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a really horrible person.
Yeah.
And we don't have like you were talking about healthy shame. Like we don't have a healthy balance sometimes of both, because we tend to lean one way or the other.
Yes. Yeah. And again, all of that, finding that middle ground is a hard place to find. Yeah. Even looking at my shadow without shame would be great. If I could look at my shadow, recognize that I have shadow, that's appropriate shame, right? We all have shadow. The denial of it is what leads me to not address it, and thinking that I shouldn't have it leads me to not address it. That's where that appropriate shame comes in, is when I recognize, hey, there's some things in my life and in my walk that I need to deal with. I constantly need work, right? I think that's where humility comes in. So just some last three principles to kind of take with you. And the three things that, this is actually from Narcotics Anonymous. I love it. I stole it. But this is probably this is the how of recovery. And these are the three spiritual principles that are required for recovery. But man, I think that they are so good for marriage. Imagine if we just applied these three principles in our marriages. Honesty. You know, I was talking to somebody and they were saying, it's scary to be honest because if I'm really honest and transparent and vulnerable with her, then am I giving her the weapon and the ammunition to use against me later? And I say, maybe. Do it anyway. I got to do this for me, not for her, but in doing it for me, it will lead to connection with her. Open-mindedness. Most of us we have our own thoughts and our own opinion on something, and that is the right way to think. And that for us to be open-minded about something requires intentionally opening my mind to something that maybe I don't know everything. Maybe I'm wrong here. Maybe the other person has a point of view on this that I don't have or know or can't see. And beginning to be open-minded about what I may or may not know in this situation. And yeah.
One thing, at least that we've dealt with about that open-mindedness, if I were to do something or say something, and she would take it however she would take it, when she would approach me about it, my first thing is to be defensive, no matter what it is. And we really worked on being that open-minded and say, hey, look, without getting defensive, this is how this made me feel. And that really helped us. Really helped me, but helped us at the same time.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Another word that we often use, and I think, is curiosity. Curiosity is a key ingredient, right, in relationship. And I really believe a lot of times we hear this word, compassionate curiosity. And I love those words, compassionate curiosity with each other. And I think it really, really hard to do, to practice in my life, is to be open to new information, and it requires me to say, maybe I don't have all the facts, maybe I don't have all the information. And then willingness to press in to the hard situations in our lives when we want to run, when we want to avoid, when we want to shut down, when we want willingness to work through the hard situations, to go through the hard situations, trusting that there's something good, some gold to be gained from these difficult trials and these difficult situations. You with me? So with that being said, I encourage you guys to try to practice living the how of relationships, and to walk in the light in your relationships. So I'm going to finish up there, and I'm going to go ahead and just pray for us. And love you guys. Thank you for letting me be here today and to share with you. I hope there's some things you could take from this that are helpful, and I'm praying for your marriages, each of you. Let's go. Lord, I just thank you and love you for who you are and all that you give us, every good and perfect gift that comes down from the Father of light, from the Lord of love, including the struggle and the challenges in our relationship. God, make us one. Lord Jesus, as you and the Father are one, make us one. Unite us together with a cord that cannot be broken. Help us to be open and willing and vulnerable with each other, and to walk in the light in our relationships as you are in the light. We love you, Lord. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Thank you, guys. Have a good day.